Hey guys, Jaryd Krause here from Buying Online Businesses, and here is another awesome episode of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I get to do something a little bit different. I speak to one of the people from our Bob community, and we talk about his first purchase of his first online business and how it only took him 2 months from finding out about me and starting to buying his first business, and why it took him only such a short amount of time. So if you're looking to buy your first website business and you've got a whole bunch of questions, this episode is going to basically answer most of the questions that you should have as a first time buyer when you're thinking about going down this path to buying your first business. So if you're looking to buy a business, be sure to not miss this episode. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Today is a little bit different, and I'm very excited for this episode because I get to speak to a client, one of our members here at the Bob community, Ian. Ian, thank you so much for jumping on and having a chat. But most importantly, congratulations, because you've just set out and achieved what you've wanted to achieve, and you bought your first business. How's it feel?
It's a great feeling. I mean, it makes it a lot easier process when, your mentorship helped along the way. It was funny, not too long ago, we had our first, interaction, and it's been a fun experience. But yeah, I'm excited to get on the next stage of operating a business and kind of put these things into practice. And because when you buy the business, it's the first step. The second part is making it better.
Yeah, that's it. It's a continual journey, right? Of like learning. And that's what I've seen in your evolution, especially in the questions that you've been asking, because as soon as you jumped in, you went in, you started breaking down businesses, and I've seen your evolution of learning change from, hey, like, where do I look for these sites and who do I speak to? What questions do I ask, to, all right, how am I going to grow this business? And that's what we're going to be talking about really soon. Personally, yourself with me is how we're going to really kickstart this thing and ramp it up. So before you even saw, how did you even come across me?
Yeah, it was interesting. I believe it was YouTube. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was YouTube. And then after YouTube, I found your podcast, and I found your podcast was very informative. And that was probably towards the end of July, early August. And at some time I was looking at other content as well, but you were very specific in terms of what I wanted to do. I didn't want to start from scratch because I realized I already own another business that takes up a lot of time for me, and want to diversify a little bit. But you spoke directly to what I wanted, and just through the information and content that you put out, I saw a lot of value in that, and so I said, this is worth a shot for the investment that I put down for this training course, and it's been well worth it.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks. Really appreciate it. And so what have you been doing work-wise? Like, you went away and bought a business. Have you been, you're still working now? What are you doing for work? And like, how do you get your money together for your site purchase?
Yeah, so I probably come from a little bit different place than others who are looking for businesses. So currently in real estate. I own commercial real estate in United States, and it's something where my business partner and I are growing that business, and it's been good. But I have some money that's been sitting on the sidelines for many years, and he's just at a point where he can't put more money into our business, and we're not really finding as many opportunities, as things are becoming extremely pricey in the United States for a lot of assets. And this business just seemed really fascinating. The more I dug into it, was how quickly you get a return on your capital and having no leverage, which doesn't exist in real estate. And so you have no leverage and you're getting paid back in like 3 years. Like, this is unreal. So for me, it seems like a corner of the world that a lot of eyes aren't on. And if you are able to learn these skills as the world is going to more internet, I think it's a very valuable skill set to have.
It's also cool that you see in the real estate world, you can buy things with like no money down and buy things that are like 400 or 300K plus. You're not really buying sites around that, 50K range or 60K range up until like or buying property, sorry, in that 50K range up until that 200, 300K range. Well, it's not as common, right? But now you can come in with less capital, but also earn a higher ROI. I mean, that's what drew me to the space. I'm not sure about you, but yeah, it's a really cool thing to see that there is an industry that's evolving that can allow that to happen, you know?
Yeah, at first, yeah, I was looking on, certain sites which were more just marketplaces than the brokers, which you've talked about many a times. And at first time, I was really confused about the process. But the more and more you look at it, the more and more it seems like this is going to be a really big thing in this future. Like this is just getting started in some sense. And I think that's where a lot of opportunity is when you're there before everyone else knows about it, and then that's when you can really cash in, is when everyone's there. Not to say I'm looking to make monster investments here, but I think it is the way that business is going to be done. As I think the brick and mortar store is, for what it's worth, it's changing quickly. The people who are figuring out and learning from that are going to be able to live a life that's a little bit different from everyone else, and it's really attractive and appealing. And it sounds story as well was really captivating to me as well.
Yeah, it's something we see in our community that's getting talked about now, is like it is such a young space, and the multiples are going up and up and up, higher and higher and higher, and it's a bit more of a seller's market at the moment. But that's because everybody's coming to the space and going, holy crap, like look at the ROI here. I mean, that was for me like years and years ago, and it's still there. Like the excitement's still there. And I look at the internet, which is like only around like 20 to 30 years old. And then I look at the real estate industry, which
Yeah,
is like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years old, right? Like, yeah. And then you've got this, which people have just started online businesses probably like 20 years ago, max ish, 25 years ago, max. And they're just starting to come on the market for sale. And that it's just, yeah, we're lucky. I feel that we're lucky. We're in a pretty cool time for something big that's going to evolve. But now that you're in this game, obviously you saw some of my stuff and you decided, all right, I'm going to go away and work with Jaryd, jump in the community. But normally there's usually I find when I work with somebody or I hire somebody or I jump into one of these things, is normally some things that I'm a bit skeptical about or have some fears about, and sort of holds me back from even doing it sometimes. And a lot of people are in that as well. Like, what was that for you? Did you have any challenges or any skeptical thoughts before diving in? What were they?
I'll say I've had a mind shifts change in the past couple years on how I view mentorship, just because I saw what it did in my real estate game, and that helped me substantially. I have a mentor in real estate, and it's easy to get caught up on like a dollar figure for what someone it costs. I kind of view it more as an investment, and so for me, making that investment in kind of working at is really a partnership. I view like me and you are in a partnership as I start to learn this business. That was a small dollar figure for the amount of knowledge and value that I was going to get where I wanted. Because very quickly I started to realize I didn't know what I was doing, looking at things on my own. And just through the last couple of years of me just embracing mentors, it was something that it was a no-brainer. And the amount of trainings you give for the amount of investment it is, it's, to me, if you put in the work, you're going to make 10x that if you actually like put in that work. So that was not that difficult for me to do. I did look at a few other things, but I think that's where a lot of people struggle with. It's like, put that investment in yourself, because it's just going to help you get quicker. Don't reinvent the wheel. Like, there's so many people who've gone before you and made those mistakes. If I was on my own, I don't think I would have bought a business. And it's only been 2 months, which is extraordinarily fast probably to a lot of people, but for me, I had the conviction, and with you looked through every single listing that I was looking through and that I wanted to buy, and you were there right along the way. Someone had seasoned eyes. So I feel like it was like another blanket of security to make sure you're not going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the skeptical thing that most people are like, oh, well, I want to make sure that somebody's there going to hold my hand through it. Is like, when you send me, I don't know if you've noticed, but when you and everybody else sends me like businesses to look at, like, I love it. Like, I actually really enjoy it. I love what I do. And I'm just always asking everyone in the community, like, send me more, like more, 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 more. And for you, one of the fastest to go away and buy a business, like, you already knew, like, all right, I'm going to make this happen. You already had your cash there. 2 months is a really good, like a quite a fast amount of time to get this done, but you've got a background there. And I wouldn't suggest everybody come in and do this within a 2 month period. If everybody listening, Ian was sending me businesses quite often. As soon as he jumped in, it was like question, 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 question. Here's a business, a bunch of questions. And even still now, he's got a business under his belt, and he's still pumping out questions, and he's just hungry for learning. And it's not that everybody else doesn't do that, because they do, but Ian you take action on the stuff that you've learned. And that's the hardest thing, is like, a lot of people are in this, I guess, in this realm, or in this mode of consuming content, which is what we do so much in this day and age. Is we're just like professionals at consuming content, and we've slipped into this mode of not taking action on it. And you know, that's where you get most rewarded, is that you can see within 2 months you've taken action and made it happen. So for everybody that's like not even going to jump in and do what we do here, but outside of this, if you're learning something, like, take action on it. It's really important. And so 2 months, like, you've had 2 months, right? You've gone through and bought a business. Obviously there would have been some hiccups, some challenges, some things you had to go through to get to this point. Like, what were some of the challenges that you had?
To be honest, when I first came out, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to buy a $5,000, $10,000 business." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing big." But the more and more I heard you talk about it, of like, it's actually less risky to buy a larger business. It took a mental leap. Like, at first, I was like, "Nah, I'm definitely doing like a $15,000 business," and so I was resistant to that idea for a little bit of time. And then when I started seeing listings and what you were working with, it started to make more sense. And it took me, I don't remember how long, but I did have some friction on that where I was a little unsure. The second part was just, I think part of the reason why I had more success than, you know, maybe the average. And the reason why is I feel like it's really easy if this is your first business. So I already own a business. So I have some skills of like understanding some uncertainty. Why buy, we buy real estate, and there's, regardless of what you do, there's still uncertainty. The thing that I think a lot of people struggle with, and I did as well several years ago, is you're trying to answer every single question, but you really need to be worried about your next step. So if you're worried about how to do an email marketing campaign, but you don't even know how to do due diligence on a business, you're like way far ahead and you're wasting time on what your next step is. It's like, find the business brokers, put deposits down, look at businesses, have seller interviews. That's way more important than you knowing how to write a perfect, blog post with the right headline. Like, those skills will
Yeah.
come, but don't worry about that now. Focus on what's right in front of you, instead of, in what's, several states or several provinces away. And that, I think, helped me realize that those skills are learnable, but not right now. And don't cloud your mind with that type of information. So that was helpful. And the second thing I was going to do, because I do it in real estate, was buying off market. And the more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely doing this. I'm going to do it." The more I realized I didn't know. And now that I'm going through the migration process now, I had to scale myself back from that concept, because I just felt it was too risky to go directly to a sprint and not know all those steps. So I had to kind of like untrain my mind from one, the approach I was going to take, and then two, the dollar amount. But once you said that multiple times on the podcast, I was like, all right. I mean, he obviously knows more than me. He's successful, so let me embrace this. Let me take my ego out of the way. And as a learner, it's so much better just take your ego out of the way and just realize someone's several steps ahead of you. They probably have already had these thoughts that you've had, and realize that your thought process probably isn't unique. And not to say that it's don't question things. It's just that when you're first coming into information for the first time, be more embracing of it than like trying to push it away.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good, and that's why I love Ryan Holiday's books. Is he's got one called "The Ego is the Enemy." It's so important to just, we have goals, but that ego can get in our way and prevent us from actually getting what we want. Like, imagine if you had gone, all right, I'm just going to buy a $5,000 to $10,000 site. Imagine how long it would have taken you to achieve the goals that you're going to achieve in the next 2 years, right? Like, it would have taken you probably would have taken you an extra 10 years if you had started of at 5, 10, and then another 3 years to get to another stage, and then another stage. It would have taken quite a while. But the biggest thing that I took away from what you just said, that I'd like to bring up again, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, is that the level of focus that people have and the worry of like trying to be 3,000 steps or even like 4 steps ahead of where they're actually at can cloud them from focusing on what they need to do right now. And because a lot of people listening to this will be like, well, if I buy a business, I've never owned one before, how the hell am I going to run it? And it's like, if you can understand, if you can trust in yourself that you're going to learn the tasks you need to run it, then you're going to be able to run it. Plus, you're going to get a whole massive education from somebody who's successful in business and successful in the business you just bought and runs it seamlessly and for however many years. And they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to talk to you over a month to train you how to run the business. And then on top of that, like if you're in our community, we're going to be talking about how to grow it as well. And you're always going to have somebody at your beck and call to be able to help you with those things. And worry about that when you get to that stage, because if you do worry about it now, it's going to create that paralysis by analysis. And even if you did learn the skills on marketing and all this sort of stuff on how to run and grow a business, say 6 months to a year before you buy the business, digital marketing's changed and it changes every 3 to 6 months. So what you've learned is kind of a waste of time as well. So I'm so glad you did really bring that up. So that's what I would say to somebody that's thinking about joining and running, going to buy a business and run one. What would you say to somebody who's like sort of sitting on the fence about this whole process?
I think the biggest thing, one, you have to be honest with yourself, right? So I don't think, business being a business owner is for everyone. So you'd be like very, very honest with yourself to make sure that this is something that you want to do. Some people just don't have the risk tolerance, or they don't have the capital. I mean, if you don't have the $50,000 to buy that business, like that's step one. You got to get the money first and make sure, I'd say that those two things are kind of like the biggest things. Like one, make sure you want to do it, and two, you're willing to put forth the time to make that happen. Internet businesses, from what I understand, I can't speak from too much authority since I'm like a week into it, that they're not as time intensive. But if you're looking to grow it, I'm guessing you're going to have to put in a little bit more time than the previous owner if you want a different result. And so like learning those things, just make a commitment to yourself, and then also really figure out what type of life you want to live. I mean, if you're in a really unhappy space with where you're at with your current job, and you see a different life for yourself, then this could be a great avenue for you to be that, to live that perfect life that you've always imagined. And it's not going to happen by you thinking through every single scenario of what could or could not go wrong.
Yeah. And yes, it could be, it could not be for everyone, right? Like I've worked with people that have been really focused on like, hey, I want to buy a business, and they ended up realizing like, oh, this actually isn't for me. And it's a good thing. And I'm glad that they worked that out. So they didn't waste a whole lot more time and a whole lot of money, and could go away and focus on what they really wanted. So yeah, break it apart. Think about, is this really for you? And then if you need the help's there. So let's talk about your business now. Like, let's really dig into this. What sort of business did you buy, and why did you choose that business model?
Yeah, great question. That was one of the big things that I wanted to decide coming in, was making sure that I didn't buy a business that took up so much time that it competed with what I was currently doing. I have another business partner that I have, you know, a business relationship with, that he needs my commitment, and I can't just, you know, totally disregard that business and just focus on this one. So for me, time investment was important. One that I wasn't going to have to be working, 5, 10 hours a day on, and that I could still make some return on my money. But at the same time, uh, I feel like some businesses just took more skills than what I had. I'm not computer savvy. I'm a real estate finance guy. So I have no like coding experience. So I felt like a SaaS business was a little bit too much for me.
Mm,
And then, dealing with inventory and things like that, the e-commerce just felt to me was a little bit more risky than maybe a content business. So for me, the idea of a content business seemed like the best path to get started in the online business game, to see if it's something that you like, and then you can kind of move yourself over, unless if you already have those skills. And if you do, then you probably have a better understanding of where you want to go. But for me, dipping my toe in this world, I wanted to go the path of least resistance, and one that didn't take a huge amount of time commitment. And so a content business with, affiliate commissions
revenue.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Or seemed like the best path for success. So I disregarded every other business. So I didn't analyze e-commerce businesses or SaaS businesses or drop shipping businesses, FBA, like all those things. When I ever saw them on a marketplace or a broker, I didn't even open them, just because I wanted to stay highly focused on that business to accomplish the goals that I had for the first one that I wanted to purchase.
I love that attitude. It's just like straight down the line, solid focus on what you want. And I normally say this to people is like, choose like 1 to 2 sort of business models that you like, and then work out which one really is truly that you feel is best for you. And I love that you chose, like, it's a wise decision to go content site, especially as your first investment if you don't know much about different spaces or e-commerce or anything like that, because it's less time intensive, and it can be also less risky as well. Um,
Right.
so talk to me. You bought your site for around 50K range, and how much does the site make roughly per month? And now, before we're actually going to grow it.
Yeah, so it's a content-based business. So I bought it for 45,000, and currently the T12 of it is about $1,141 after expenses. So it's around the 39 uh, multiple, which was another, I guess, hurdle I had to get in my mind, because when I first came into it, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get a 20 multiple," and I realized, yeah, that might have worked in 2015.
uh, or 13 or 14. Yeah.
That was another like mental hurdle I had to get over. And I said, still, like with a little over 3 years, making your money back, doing nothing, absolutely nothing, seemed like a reasonable bet to make. But we can dig into that business as much as you'd like. Just whatever you think might be valuable.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you've worked out that if you buy this site and you just leave it as it is, it's gonna tick over and earn, what was it, 1,400 a month?
It was a little
11.
over 1100 a month on the T12.
Yeah. Yeah. So 1,100 a month if you just buy it and leave it as it is, which basically the site owner has done for I'm not sure how long, right? It's going to tick over and earn you money. But with the intention that you have, we're gonna do a few different things to grow it, that's for sure, and then build it up. And we want to get it to about 4 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my goal. I would love to do maybe even more. We'll see, but I think that's a good initial goal to see if we can get to that point, and then we'll reevaluate. I don't want to, again, just kind of sticking to our cause overall theme is don't think 9 yards ahead. Just focus on the first yard, and I think that's the first good goal.
Yeah. And there's a difference between macro focus and micro focus. So I believe it's good to have macro goals and have these goals and the vision, but to have a micro focus on, hey, what's the next step ahead of me? And then take that macro goal and break it down to all the individual steps until you get to where you're at today. And if you just focus those micro steps and you tick them off as you go, then you're going to achieve that macro goal. So for everybody listening, that's a really important thing that you can use, not just in growing a business, but in your life for sure. So how does it actually feel? Like you've gone away and you were making, how much were you making? Like $0 online when you first?
I've never made $1 online.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's kind of a cool place to be, from 0 to now 1,100.
Yeah, in 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just all growth from here. So how many hours was the seller spending on this business, just maintaining the business, per week or per month?
So they did about 30 minutes of maintenance a week, and then every 3 months they would do like 25 hours. So it averaged out to be they averaged out to be about 3 to 4 hours a week is kind of the math that I backed into.
Awesome. And so you're doing about 3 to 4 hours a week and you're making 1,100 a month. If you do the math, it's quite good, but as you grow it, that's going to get even better, right? So talk to me about like some of the things that you want to do to grow it. That you've already sent me some things and we've already discussed a few things and chatted backwards and forwards on the questions you've been asking in the community. But what are your goals for this business in the next sort of 12 months, other than the 4K range that you want to hit per month? But what are some of the things you want to do to grow this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I want to better. I think there's a good opportunity here for an email list. I feel like they have email subscribers, but the previous owner, really did nothing with those subscribers. So I feel like, finding a way to monetize that, give them a lot of value, and then reworking some of the content, as it just doesn't come off that great. It's kind of ugly. It's an ugly site. And when I talk to Empire Flippers, I'm like, you'll learn as well if you haven't started looking at businesses. I guess for the audience, you obviously, but 50,000 sites and below go really quick. I mean, there were so many sites that I put a deposit on. I'm like, I want a seller interview, and they're like, sold. I was like, oh man. I was like, that's the third one. That's the third one this month. And you start to learn that. So this one was a little stayed a little bit longer, and I was wondering why. And this one's going to be a little bit heavier of a lift. So I think the email, really finding a more aesthetic look to the website, putting more long form content on there, and then really focus. I think there's going to be a market here as well for some social media to get some inbound growth from there.
Yeah, awesome. And you're right. When I first looked at the website, I was like, oh, okay, this thing is outdated. But like, you're prepared to do some lifting, right? If you take 3 hours per week to doing 6 hours per week, you're going to double the growth of this business, as long as you have the right tasks put in place, which is what we're going to talk about shortly. But if you have those right tasks going to be put in place, they're going to actually help you achieve and get results, then you can double this by just doubling the hours. And then you walk away, and then you can be 2,200 a month within a short time frame, and then continue to grow from there. And that means that your multiple is going to halve, and you'll get your ROI back a lot faster. So I'm really excited to dig into this with you. And I do want to say again, congratulations. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how we go. Like, do you have anything that you want to say to wrap it up?
Yeah, I do want to say that on the air, just because I want to thank you just publicly, partly because you're extremely responsive, which is really, really good. Because I think a lot of people who have kind of learning communities that I've seen, they once they get to a certain size, I feel like they get a little bit too ahead of themselves, or maybe they just don't put as much energy into the community as that. But within 24 hours, I'm I'm kind of like the pest in the group. I feel like I'm constantly asking questions, but that was extremely useful for me to get to where I was, and I'm glad it was that. And the group is very open and accepting of that. But you're always answering questions within 24 hours with in-depth answers. It's not just like one word answers. So that was extremely useful for me to like make decisions quickly, and I can't thank you enough for that, because like PBNs, like I knew very quickly, okay, just don't do businesses with that. Just do our conversations we had. You know, there's obviously caveats to that, but for you to have that engagement with everyone, it's not just me, it's everyone in the community. You're basically saying to anyone, I will go as fast as you want to go to make this happen. And that was
Yeah.
cool, and I really appreciate that. And you're as much as part of this as I am, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I really do appreciate that. And you're right, like it's like if you want to chuck some fuel on what you want to do, like I'm there every step of the way, because your success is my success, and like I actually love it. Like I don't know if everybody's listening, they can't tell by now, is like I'm asking people to send me more questions, more like due diligence. Like you give me all the work and I will do it. And I've learned this from being a workhorse on the tools and doing a job that I didn't like, but being very productive with it. Take that work mentality and put into something you actually love. It's like it's the synchronicity between like us and everybody in the group. Like it's fun, right? It doesn't feel like work to me. I don't know. I'm not sure about you. Did you actually enjoy this process, or was it like quite like obviously there's some work that needs to be done, but did you enjoy the whole process overall?
Yeah, I will say there one thing I did, so people have like some contrast here. There were some niches where I analyzed them and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can like really spend a lot of time doing this. There was I won't say it because it's still online, but there's or still open for sale. But there was a couple businesses I saw and I was like, this seems like a great opportunity, but I don't know if I'm the right guy for that opportunity. And I did that several, like there was one that was like about rabbits. Nothing against rabbits. It's just I don't know if I want to spend the next 2 years studying rabbits. And like
There was another one that you sent me as well, and we kind of got to that decision. We're like, yeah, maybe not. That's not the right niche. What was that niche? There was a different one that I can't remember what it was.
there's one on headphones, but
That's
the
right.
the branding was really off,
Yeah,
and there was some weird I think black hat SEO stuff going on that wasn't quite like there was a PBN there and a few other things.
yeah, yeah. Cool, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for all the kind words that you've said, and a massive congratulations. I feel that maybe in a year's time or so, we have a chat and see where your business is at and see where you're heading, ticking along, and what you're actually doing then. Because I think it'd be really cool to tune in and share that with everyone, and then also do some work together on the back of that. Would be really cool.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on. And I guess to just wrap up a little bit, if you put the one thing that really helped me trigger to make sure that I was doing it every week was Empire Flippers, which is a broker. For those who don't know, they put out listings every day or every week at 10 a.m. And for me, that was like my trigger point. Like I'm looking at businesses for at least the next hour. And if I get one to deposit, then I'm going to look and make sure I can schedule a seller interview. And I did that time and time and again. And that was like my trigger to say, okay, now it's time to focus on websites, and just cutting out time every week to do that will help you get along the way.
Yeah. And also with Empire Flippers, what a lot of people doing that are buying businesses under that 60K range, 50, 60K range from like 10 to that range is they're selling like hotcakes, right? Like super quick, like you said, and you can't even get seller interviews sometimes. Sometimes they sell within 12 hours. And the reason
I've seen it
that's,
like an hour.
yeah, it's crazy. And the reason that's done is because people really want to jump into that price point. And so what they do is they put money on file, they put deposit down already, and or on account with Empire Flippers. And then when one comes through, the money's already wired, and they just go, "Yep, that's mine. I'll take it." So for everybody listening, is if that's something like
Yeah.
if that's a process that you want to do, I dare say, like if you don't know what you're doing with due diligence, go away and get one of the frameworks, or get one of my free tools, or even jump in and get some help from me to learn how to do this due diligence first, and then you can be confident to go, yeah, I want to grab that one. So yeah, it's a really good point, Ian.
Yeah, for Empire Flippers, I guess one other thing I'll say is, make some rules for yourself. Like I told myself I would not buy a business without having seller interview. There was one person who would not speak to me on the phone. He would only do emails, and I said, all right, I'm out. Like, uh, I was willing to walk away from that. And then second was I spoke to Empire Flippers before I bought this business for about 45 minutes without the seller. So just to better understand kind of where they're at and what the price point was, and kind of how he was thinking through it and what his minimum price was. And then I would never buy a business without your input. So like those three things really, and then also Empire Flippers has a great thing when you go through the migration process. There's a two-week inspection period. If the income drops a certain percentage, I think it's what 50% or something like that. Within that 2-week inspection period, you can void the whole entire transaction. So you have a lot of downside protection, and just make maybe a few rules for yourself. Maybe there's certain niches that you want to go into, and it helps you really, again, focus on the things that make sense and not wasting a lot of time looking at businesses you probably would have never bought.
Yeah, exactly. And we go into that setting out specific lifestyle goals and financial goals in the actual the program and all that sort of stuff as well. Again, thank you so much, Ian. Congratulations, and yeah, look forward to having and maybe doing another one of these, Ian, in a year or so.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Cheers. Thanks, Ian. Bye. So there you go, guys. That's a wrap for this week's episode. Now, when Ian first came to me and first wanted to start buying websites, what he did is he went and found out where he could get some more information and some of my help for free. So what I do is I offer all of you guys to go away and check out my site, buyingonlinebusiness.com/free resources. And you can learn how to get my due diligence framework and learn how to do diligence. And you can also get my website evaluator tool for free. So go away and grab that. It's really going to help you get kickstarted on your journey to learning how to do due diligence when you buy your first website business. Until next episode, have a great day.